Hey, it's 7 p.m. on Tuesday. Welcome everyone to the BN Multi Question Time with Jacqui. My name's Jacqui Lewis, and every Tuesday evening at 7 p.m. Brisbane time, we meet on the BN Multi page so that we can get together and explore your questions and your queries and concerns about different things that happen after bariatric surgery. So every week at 7 p.m., we spend about, depends, 35, 40 minutes answering questions and announcing winners of different prizes for different competitions that we run, well, things that we do in the group during the week. So in the BN Bariatric group, we have Transformation Tuesday, which runs every week. And that's an opportunity to share your wins and your story and your progress. And it's not necessarily before and after shots that we're looking for. Yes, they're fantastic, don't get me wrong. It's more about, things that you're experiencing that you never thought would be possible, or things that you can do now after your weight loss surgery. And I guess the idea behind it is to inspire others who might just be starting out. Every week we have, I don't know how many people join the group, but every week we have quite a few newcomers who are obviously starting the journey. So we're catering for the start of the journey, as well as helping to inspire others who might be further along as well. And just to keep health and fitness and nutrition and all the different considerations that come with weight loss surgery front of mind, so that you keep on thriving and progressing. Some of it is mindset related. Some of it is answering questions of strange things like tummy rumbling noises that the body makes sometimes, all sorts of different things. And there's a bank of the questions, or there's a bank of these live recordings on the Weight Loss Surgery podcast website. And so if you've got questions, you can go to the educational resources tab on the Australian Weight Loss Surgery podcast.com, and you'll find all the previous chapters of our question and answer time, and they're all categorized so you know that each questions are answered within each recording. So if you've got a certain concern, you generally you'll find it there, because we've covered so many now. So do keep them coming. It's really helpful for me also to have your input and to see what you're concerned about, so that we can help you and support you in the best way we can. And if there are questions that I can't answer, I'll also point you in the right direction for more specific support. And generally it's back to your dietitian, and also your surgeon if need be. And I'm just trying to see if I can find where you guys are posting. So throughout the live, if you've got other questions that I haven't covered, there you all are. Teresa, Katerina, Maz, and Janet, thanks for joining us. They're the ones who've commented anyway. So that's perfect. So if you've got questions or comments on anything that I'm banging on about, just let me know, and at the end I'll go back to them, so I'm not interrupting myself. So thank you all for joining us. So Marina Faltis is our first question asker, and today she's asking about being 6 weeks post-op from a bypass operation, and she'd really like to have a drink. And thinking maybe vodka and orange juice, and wondering if that would be harmful. Most surgeons, and I did a bit of reading just to get an understanding as well, to make sure I'm not talking out of school, but generally the recommendation is to avoid alcohol, and generally anywhere from 3 months to 12 months total abstinence was my reading this afternoon. A lot of it is about the effect that alcohol can have on you, and 6 weeks post-op, you're generally only just starting to touch the solid food again. And at that point too, without much solid in your tummy, it's going to hit you pretty hard. So you could look at delaying it for 12 months, or And the other concern I had was orange juice and vodka after a bypass may not go so well because there's a risk of dumping. The main concern with alcohol consumption after bariatric surgery is vomiting, because 6 weeks post-op, you're still in that recovery stage. And if anything does go wrong and you overdo it somehow, there's a different limit. And some people, they'll find they can drink, and not feel the effects much differently than they used to. Other people turn into teetotalers. So I wouldn't say I would be keen to get started on alcohol for 2 reasons. One is it's got no nutritional value, and I'm big on that. And 2 is that if something does go wrong and it causes vomiting, it's stress on your new sleeve surgical healing that you don't need. So there could be other more constructive things to do with your time 6 weeks after surgery. And it is a personal thing. It's up to you if you want to try that. But yeah, generally those kind of additions to the diet that are not totally health giving and don't come without risk, we generally try to steer clear of. And it's moderation in all things, and that's what they say about weight loss surgery. It's not that you say no to everything forever. It's just that we need to be, I would overdo caution rather than underdo it and end up with any concerns as well. It's any complexities are just things that you can avoid, and you can have some fun maybe in a few months. Up to you, totally up to you. Thank you. And then we've got Yvette. We are asking a question. She says, okay, weird question, but has anyone become obsessed with a certain food post-op? I'm now 12 months post and I'm obsessed with crunchy peanut butter. I haven't had surgery and I don't mind a bit of peanut butter. Before I could go months without eating it, and now I eat it by the bucket load. Well, that's an over-exaggeration, but it certainly feels like I am. I have to have it on toast at least once a day or half a sandwich. I commented on this in the group and I'm just rehashing it just mainly so that everyone gets to know what we're talking about. Sometimes cravings are a few different things. They can be emotional, or they can be that you're craving a food that has something in it that you need. And this is what I was mentioning during the week was things that are unusual and you've got a new penchant for. Generally, they'll have something in it that you need. So it's similar to pregnancy. I remember when I was pregnant, I was eating, and I never eat white bread. I've never eaten it probably since my teens. And so pregnant and craving white bread with Vegemite and ricotta cheese. So if you look at what's in that, it's carbs. It's a quick hit of energy, which is probably what I needed. And it was B group vitamins in the Vegemite and protein in the ricotta cheese and perhaps a little bit of iron. So you can see why a pregnant woman might want carbs, B group vitamins and iron. So do have a look into kind of what you're craving for, and have a think about what it might mean. So I kind of looked at peanut butter. I have peanut butter when I'm hungry, or I need to just fill the spot with something that does have a bit of substance to it. Depends on which peanut butter you're eating. Some of them are quite sugar laden. So it is a really calorie dense way of spreading stuff on your bread. So do have a look at the label on the back of your peanut butter, because it can add up to 50 to 100 calories if you're giving it a good whack. It does have essential fats in it, which may be why you're interested in that. And it does have a little bit of protein because it's made out of nuts. So if you're eating a good, you can buy a nut butter that's all it is. And there's nothing wrong with that. It could be a good snack peanut butter with celery stick or something like that. I would, some people omit bread just because it's quite those kind of quick hit high GI carbs. But you can put it on celery or apple is really nice, and just slice up an apple and kind of coat it with some peanut butter, and that's a really good snack too. So there's nothing wrong with it, but yeah, have a look at why you're obsessed with it. And you might find that it's become a treat, and that's not a bad thing. It's not like you're eating a Toblerone every time you want something. It's peanut butter. It's just moderation. And having it once a day is certainly not going to kill you. The other thing to have a look at is if you've got any allergies or anything like that, and just make sure it's a good quality peanut butter, because like I said, some of them are quite high in sugar. So I hope that helps to answer your question. But yeah, there are some interesting things that come out of nutritional deficiencies and cravings. So around like when women are looking around their menstrual cycle, they'll crave chocolate because it's got a bit of energy. It's got some magnesium, and it's also got a bit of sugar. And just getting in those days in the lead up to your menstrual period, you could need up to 500 extra calories just for what your body's doing as a woman. So that's why you'll also find your appetite might increase during that time as well. So just listen. I think what we're getting out of this also is just listening to what your body's asking for, and listening with curiosity, and having a good kind of introspective think about it and see what it means to you. This is a good one. Denise Page Linden was asking about cracked lips. She said that she's 6 weeks post-op and has had super dry and cracked lips since she left the hospital. Has tried lots of different topical treatments like lip balms and pawpaw and rosehip and all those sorts of things, eczema creams, steroid creams. You've given it a good workout. Extra water with no improvement. I'll post an article on this in the group, because your mucous membranes and your lips tell a story about your nutritional status. And I'm so glad that you've recognised that it could be dehydration, because that will also make them quite crusty and sometimes thickened. When you've got stuff going on with your lips or your mouth, it can be linked to different nutrients. So cracks in the corners, like here, when you open your mouth and it splits, that's called stomatitis, and it's linked to iron deficiency and some B group vitamins. So dry and like peeling and that sort of thing, I would link it to, can be B group. It can also be essential fats. So a lot of the time when we're looking at modifying our diet in a way to help with fat loss, there's a lot of thinking around cutting out fats, but making sure you're getting enough good fats is important for your skin. B groups support the skin, so does vitamin C, so does protein. So when things are not functioning well, like anything is not functioning well, my thinking is to look at which nutrients make that thing up. So it's like if you've got a problem with your skin, what do you need to make healthy skin? You need vitamin A, vitamin C, you need good fats, you need the B group, and iron for the mouth as well. So ulceration, any ulcers, like recurring ulcers in your mouth, or like a red swollen tongue, that's a B group deficiency, particularly the tip of the tongue, if it's red and like speckly, that's a B6, a sign of B6 deficiency. A swollen, really red tongue is a B12 deficiency. So we look at your tongue and the mouth, the health of your mouth and your mucous membranes as an indicator of like a story. So the body's always telling a story. And then as a practitioner, if I saw someone who had really cracked and peeling lips and splits at the side, I would immediately look at testing for nutritional deficiencies in the B group. Zinc has a bit to do with it as well, and also looking at vitamin C and the things that make up healthy skin and mucous membranes. So I hope that helps. And it's good to keep moisturizing the skin, but just building in the nutrients that will support it as well. Thank you. It's a good question. I've got an article on that, so I'll stick it in later on. So Amy Gaudry wants to know, this was a good question too. What are some good books regarding weight loss surgery that helped you or gave you inspiration? I think in the podcast I did with Charlie Palupe on the Australian Weight Loss Surgery podcast website, he talks about a book that he found on bariatrics, or just a story, an inspiring story about another person who'd been through bariatric surgery, and he said it was pretty life-changing for him. I posted in there just some books that I've read myself that I thought were pretty game-changing as far as real aha moments. One of them was Atomic Habits by James Clear. It's probably one of my favourite books ever. This little book here, I did a podcast a couple of weeks ago, if it doesn't get absorbed in the background, with Anthony Bonici, who wrote this book. So also on the website, you'll find a great podcast that talks about his Brain Blinkers book. I've got one more to give away, so you never know your luck in the big city. And so what we're going to do this week is actually post this question again in the group, and I'm going to get a collection of places where you found inspiration. So hold that thought, Amy, because I don't know if we got any answers to that one. And we'll also throw it out there to the group again and just see what's inspiring everybody. Any movies, any books that you can read that keep you moving forward on the journey and maybe help you to look at things a little bit of a different way. So thank you. That's a great one. Hayley Cooper has a quick question. My next dietitian appointment is next week and my next surgeon follow-up is in December. Are there any bread types that are safe for Roux-en-Y gastric bypass? I'm looking at homemade options like cloud bread, but I want to be sure it's something safe. And bread's safe. Some people it just doesn't sit very well, and it seems to be an individual thing. It depends on what kind of bread too, and I encourage people to explore who's making your bread, what your bread's made out of, because even some multigrain breads are essentially white bread with a few seeds chucked into it. So if you're going to eat bread, I would recommend you don't eat bread from the supermarket unless it's been prepared there. I'm pretty, I'm not fussy, but I'm particular about what goes in, and there's reasons for that as well. And they're proving now, there's a discussion about gluten intolerance, and it's not necessarily linked to the gluten itself in some ways. It's linked to how quickly we're producing bread. So we've got so many people in the planet that we need to feed that they're making all these processes much faster these days. So bread that you might buy from Tip Top or wherever, I don't know, any kind of mainstream brand, they're smashing out bread day and night. So the quicker they can get that bread to prove and get in the oven, the better. Whereas something like a sourdough, which is, and there's a really good one that's a 30-hour sourdough you'll find in one of the supermarkets. That's not a bad one. But things that have gone through the whole process in a, almost a loving way, and things that have taken the time to actually, become a good example of that food are also going to be more health giving. So there is evidence to say that. Also, the wheat that we use in our country is different than other countries. And the reason that is that over time they have made changes to the structures of the wheat so that it's, more resilient to pests and to weather and that sort of thing when it's being grown. So that way the farmers are guaranteed a higher yield from their crops and there's less risk of them getting damage and their business survives. However, that doesn't help our bodies to digest this new tough protein. And some of that is linked to this rise in gluten intolerance or allergic reactions to gluten as well. So looking at that, because I have heard that some people who have gluten intolerance here can go to Italy and eat pasta with no problems. So there is a difference in like at the chemical level of what they're doing with our food as well. So always look for now I think too that you've got such limited room, and dare say your food budget is not as large every week, because if you can only eat a cup of food, why not make it great quality and investigate these options that we have for that, just that one step up from the mainstream of production. It's more about mass producing food sometimes will impact on the benefits that it has to offer. So in answer to your question, I would say bread is not unsafe. You could try, if it does cause you problems, it could be that there's some gluten intolerance, and that can happen after surgery because you have less enzymatic activity for a period of time. And it could be a passing thing, but some people do end up with an issue with gluten, and some do with dairy as well. So it's a bit of an experiment as well. But yeah, give it a go. The cloud bread, if anyone's got the recipe for that, I have seen it, but I don't have it myself. There's another bread, and I dare you to Google this one, and I will post it in the group because it is what it says it is, and it's the life-changing loaf of bread. And for anyone who's looking for something to, satisfy that bread need feeling, the life-changing loaf of bread, I used to make it every week, and it's just fantastic. It takes a bit to get the ingredients together, but once you have it, I used to make 2 of them a week, one for me and one for my friend who had, this is interesting, she had IBS, and it was the only time that her body was actually enjoying food, and elimination and that sort of stuff was really improved. So I'll put that one in the group too, because that is a life-changing loaf of bread. Thank you. So Rocco Giovanilio, I've got a question about wanting to see if this is normal or if I'm doing something wrong. I'm 4 weeks post-op and I'm on the last week of puree. Oh, this is interesting. Every time I squat down and then get up, my head starts to spin and I lose my balance. I would say there's just not enough fuel in the tank. It's a pretty low carbohydrate diet generally, that puree stage, and it's pretty low in everything because there's not much going in. So this dizzy feeling can be linked to your blood sugars. So if you're not eating enough fuel to keep your body managing these directional changes and that sort of thing, it can also be an indicator of low blood pressure or low iron as well. So at this, I would roughly say, and I'm not diagnosing, I would generally say maybe you're just a bit low in blood sugars and that's what's causing it. But if it persists, I do think it's a good idea. If you're losing your balance, particularly, because that's a risk, that's a falls risk, and anytime that's happening, it's really definitely a good thing to get it checked out. And they might just do a fasting glucose, or they might just make sure that your levels are correct, and even looking at what you're eating and whether it's sustaining you, because that could be that you maybe need some more food. But do please look into that one as well. Thank you. Thank you. Gosh, someone's updating this document as we speak. I've got this little team of helpers behind me. So Maz, who joins us every week and is a huge player in the group, has asked, what is the honeymoon period and why is it called the honeymoon? And I don't know if I made up the honeymoon. I'm sure everyone else talks about it too. But it is, it's that first year at least, or year to 18 months after surgery. I kind of associate it with the honeymoon. A lot of people have, before surgery, they've tried absolutely everything to lose weight and it hasn't happened. And that's what leads you to weight loss surgery, right? So finally, you've got this tool and you've had this thing done to your digestive system that means that you actually do start to lose weight, and it's pretty quick. So there's a whole lot of reasons that's happens, and you'd obviously know that it's linked to not much food, limited food restriction. Also with different surgeries, there's a level of malabsorption of calories as well, generally in the bypass, which leads also, there's a malabsorption of some nutrients, which you all know, that's why you need your BN multi. But it's also because you're losing weight so quickly, there's metabolic change. So the surgery takes away sections of the tummy that produce hunger-causing hormones like ghrelin, and also impacts leptin, which are two changes. Like if you've had the band, you have just restriction only. So you just have a smaller area to put your food in, and that's the limitation, and that's how people lose weight. There's no metabolic change. So nothing changes from a hormonal or endocrinological perspective. Whereas with the gastric sleeve and the bypass, you actually have changes to your metabolic picture. So things like type 2 diabetes will tend to subside because you're balancing back out leptin, adiponectin, and insulin. And you are becoming less insulin resistant and more insulin receptive. So it means that when you're insulin resistant, there's actually it's almost like a lock on the gate that will help you to lose fat. So it helps to nullify that as well. The other reason it's called the honeymoon is because you're losing weight, which is a party. I don't know if the mindset part of it is a honeymoon. It's also a time where you're not hungry, probably for the first time in I don't know how many years leading up. So some obese patients, they're endocrinologically imbalanced, and there's a hormone called ghrelin, which is also affected and is part of the obesity picture, and that is the hormone that tells you when you're full. So when ghrelin is out of whack, you'll always feel hungry, and that's often one of the seat kind of a pillar of obesity, is that it's not that you've not eaten anything, it's you're just not satisfied. And ghrelin is the hormone that helps you to manage that feeling of satisfaction. So when they do the surgery, all those hormones are impacted on, and suddenly you're not wanting lots of food. You can't fit in lots of food. So weight loss is inevitable. So it's also called the honeymoon period because everyone's going, oh, look at you. You've lost so much weight. You look fantastic. And it's a honeymoon period because you feel fantastic most of the time, if all goes well. So I also call it the honeymoon period because all good things don't come to an end, but they need to be managed. And this period of time between surgery and probably 18 months post-surgery, when you're feeling all of this going on, is a crucial time for you to be establishing your portion management habits, and also turning your diet upside down so that it's protein first, it's healthy carbohydrates, there's some healthy fats in there. So it's not only a time where you just get to kick up your heels like a normal honeymoon, but it is a crucial time where in this window where you're not feeling so hungry and you're not wanting a lot of food, this is the time to set up your lifelong habits because it doesn't last forever. And some people, hunger will return at 12 months, sometimes it's 18 months, others it's 2 years. And it doesn't necessarily always return in the way that it was, but it will increase. And sometimes capacity increases because we're putting more food in, and some people will stretch a little bit as well. So at the end of that period, there might be more room for food and there might be more calling for food. You might want more food as well. And that's where why we talk about protein and we talk about portion management, because they're the habits that will make your long-term success obviously become realized. I hope that helps. That was a good question. Thanks, Maz. So on portion control, I've got this thing in my hand. And so we've developed, you've probably seen the portion plates and the portion everything that we have on the website. And sometimes it's hard when you're going out to a restaurant or you're going camping or you're visiting your in-laws, and it's hard for you to take your plate and your bowl with you. And we do encourage you to use those for every meal. But what we've done is develop this little disc. And I think you can see it. It's made out of silicone, so it's safe. And what you do, it's a bariatric portion device. And what you do with it is you put it on any plate. It doesn't have to be a portion plate because this is mapped out your portions. And you just put it in your bag or your wallet or your man bag. And you take it with you wherever you go, so that you know, if you stack food on these sections in the way that it's indicated. So we've even got ideas for what these foods might be. So in the protein section, we've got chicken and nuts and tuna and salad and all sorts of suggestions for protein-rich foods. And then down here, we've got all your healthy carbs. It's fading in and out. And then here is where you put your rice, like more simple carbs, that sort of thing. And here is where you put dressings, maybe some olive oil, peanut butter, that kind of stuff. And so you'll know wherever you go, you've got this handy little flexible fold up device. And then all you do is put it on your plate and stack your food on it about 2 centimeters deep. And then when you're done with it, give it a rinse off and put it in a snap lock bag or something like that. But I think that's very groovy. And I think it's a bit of a breakthrough as far as continuing to manage your portions and making it easy. So there you go. That's our new portion mat. I don't know what they've called it. And it's on the website. You can buy them. And tonight I'm going to give one away. So now at least you know what it is. So the winners for Transformation Tuesday this week, Che Janezic. I hope I say all these names correctly. I try. 27th of May 2020 was my surgery date, and I started at 158 kilograms. I'm now down 45 kilos, and I feel amazing, beautiful. I love to hear people say that. And so confident. I've worked so hard to get to where I am, and I couldn't be more proud of myself. And you should be so proud. You've done such an amazing job. And I saw all the girls going, where'd you get your dress from? It's beautiful. So what I saw in that post was everyone supporting, which is fantastic. And I just see so much encouragement in our group. It's wonderful. So with our, so Che, you won one of these groovy things, and also the meal planner. So you can plan your meals and then put them on here, and you'll be rocking. So thanks for joining in on the chat. And the beautiful, actually the first photo is beautiful if you dressed up with the beautiful bouquet anyway. So good on you. The second winner, who does the same thing, wins our new portion mat and a meal planner, is Tali Forward. 12 months later, photo on the left, I'm 127 kilos, and the photo on the right, I'm 91. 6 kilos from my next goal, and you look so chuffed. It's amazing. So good work. You've also won the portion mat and the planner. What else have I got to talk about tonight? Podcasts. I've been recording lots of podcasts. I've got some news stories, patient stories, success and inspiration stories. I've also recorded a few other secrets. I can't tell you. I'd have to, so I am looking to see if there's any other questions, and I can't see any extras. I did do a podcast with Ben Harvey recently, and when we're lining up the editing for that, I'm going to invite him into our group because he's pretty incredible. And his journey started out with not surgical weight loss, but he became obese and then changed his life around in a way that supported his weight loss and full mental transformation as well. So he's going to be very interesting, and he's also got some offers on different personal development and motivational stuff you can look at. If you want to sneak ahead, you'd look for authentic education on the Google it, and he's got so many different free resources on the website. He's amazing. So I think the monologue will end about now. I'm going to start inviting people back in again. You're probably sick of hearing from me every week. And what else? I think that's all. Yeah, that's all. And there'll be a sneaky winner in the group for something this week, so keep interacting because you might win a book. Anthony Bonici's Brain Blinkers. He also did a special offer for you guys too, so you should check that out. All right, I'm off. I'm pretty much on time. So have a wonderful week. Take care. Thank you. See ya.